Hello, welcome to another Tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration with your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and welcome to, oops, sorry about that. Welcome to the Past Masters series. Now, I'm not going to give you a day because we're doing something a little bit different today, which is I am showing you we're revisiting a study I did after George Inness, his painting called California. The study I did after it. I did this back in 2015. I think it was June or so. And this would have been like day 10 of 100 Days of Tonalism, which was pretty much the first stuff I started putting up on my channel. So we're talking about 4 years ago. And I thought it'd be interesting to see some of the differences between the approach I took then and the approach I took now. And you'll have the benefits of a couple extra benefits, because you could be saying, well, geez, Mike, we could just watch that old video, you know? Yes, you could, but it's only, first of all, 4 minutes long, so it's sped up quite a bit more. And the resolution of that video is only, I think, 480. So it took a little while before, actually, we have the fiber optic cable here now. Back then we had much slower internet, and it would have taken me hours and hours to load up things. It only take me maybe a half hour now. So a couple big benefits. So you can see back then I was working on a little pine board. This is a little marine pine, texturized with some transparent gesso that has been tinted with burnt sienna. And then when I go in to do my drawing, I'm working with burnt sienna, and then I come in with a dark color that is not black. It is what I like to call chromatic black, which is a mix of phthalo green and alizarin crimson. Now, the interesting thing about the chromatic black is, depending on the ratio of crimson to phthalo green, it can either have a kind of greenish quality to it, or it can have a purplish quality to it. This looks like it's leaning a little more towards the green, but it gets darker as I go. Perceptually, it seems like black, but one of the things I really enjoyed back then was creating this sort of complementary kind of thing you've got going now, where you've got greenish darks, and then the medium tones are warm and red. And I also very much enjoyed leaving big chunks of red peeking through all the time. That's one thing I totally miss from the way I used to work, is that I could definitely have a bunch of red coming through, peeking through. Now, of course, you'll see I have lots of burnt umber peeking through, but not so much in the skies and things. I could get away with pretty much letting the red come through in almost every area, whereas now that's not the case. I need to work a bit more opaquely. And then, speaking of that, you can see the way I laid in the green in the middle ground there on the earth. It's a very thin kind of wash of green. That would be Mike's green, probably just yellow and black mixed together. That would be the same, I think, either Hansa yellow, or if I hadn't got into actually Hansa yellow, then I was using a cadmium yellow hue, which would have been probably the same basic pigment as Gamblin uses in their Hansa yellow. It was a little later on when I started getting very in depth, because after investigating the light fastness ratings, and I think I was using a lot of Georgian at the time from De La Rowney. And to be honest, if the light fastness is all based on the pigment that goes into the paint more than any other factor involved in the paint, and I think they had a light fastness rating of 2. And I went with the Gamblin Hansa yellow because it has a light fastness rating of 1. All the paints I use now have light fastness rating of 1. But in some cases, I think they were just not correctly labeling their paints, First of all, the Georgian brand from De La Rowney is a student grade paint, so they probably figured, who cares, you know. Anyway, so back then, 2015, June 2015, I was, if you look at my folder full of images for the year, I lost 2 or 3 months on the 100 days of tonalism. It was just, I didn't really know when I started what sort of approach I was going to take. I know I wanted to do one of these 100 days things that were pretty popular at the time. I worked with someone at the quarry who was a musician and took on the 100 Days project, and they were musicians, so they were writing a song a day for 100 days. I basically ended up posting a video a day for 100 days, but I had more than 100 days invested in the project because, well, at first you'll see actually with this painting that we'll go through a second pass. You know, some of the paintings in the 100 days are only first pass paintings because I'm thinking, well, they're studies, I don't need to. But I had them all up on the wall, and it was really fun, you know, just to watch all these images take over the wall in my studio. I found ways to glue them down with blue tack, and I found a bunch of little 5x7 frames I didn't even know I had either. And I ended up exhibiting all of the 100 days at a show I had in 2015, probably around August or July. Maybe it might have been sooner, but I ended up selling a lot of them and then actually repainting. It was definitely prior to when I was posting the videos. I was going to have a show of my own work, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll just put these up too. Why not? You know, and that was a really good show. However, it did suffer from one problem, which was I had put too much work in it. It was very dense, and you live and you learn. And you know, as artists, we have the ability to filter things out that normal people really don't. And you need to be aware of that when you're exhibiting your work. By the way, just a tip. Don't put too much up. Don't put only 3 paintings or something up either. I mean, you know, have a good amount of work, but people get overwhelmed. They get they get overstimulated visually, and so they'll just tap out is what happens. And that definitely was the case on that show. I just put too much work up. I had a lot of work, and I wanted to show it all, and so I did. And there you go. But a lot of the things that sold from that show were my studies after the masters, and I ended up redoing a lot of those because I wanted to keep the set together. I could care less now. I've already sold some of the past masters that I've shown you over the last few months, so you know, I'm not worried about it now. I'm not worried about keeping sets together, but I was then, and I still have that box with 100 days of tonalism in it, and there were some standout ones, and this is one I was quite proud of, and I'd be proud to put my name on it today. And so, well, I'm not going to sell it separate from the rest of the set. I've kept the set together, so maybe, who knows, in my vanity, you know, some gallery somewhere will have a exhibition sometime with the studies from 100 days and other works. That might be cool. I've had to talk. You know, sorry, I repeat myself endlessly here because, you know, I'm always thinking and working on the same things. So, you know, for me, so much of life is not really about attempting to be original. I don't even believe in originality. I believe in getting better. And I think originality comes from being who you are, truly. So more than originality, I like the idea and concept of unique. As an artist, if you're an artist, or even as you're not an artist, you're unique as a human being. There will never be anyone like you. There might be some people sort of like you, but no one like you. And even if you're going off the surface, you could say, oh, these two people act the same. Yeah, there's still big differences. All you're really going to do is dig, and you'll find them. So more than originality. I'm very much into just refining what I like and what I think is cool, and getting better at painting. And that is, and I'm kind of avoiding. I'm circling around the word craft, because craft has a lot of negative connotations in the modern world, but it didn't used to the to painters in the old days, because they knew that painting was a craft. They knew it was something that you mastered. Unlike now, where a lot of people have a perception of painting as being some sort of divine inspiration that strikes you like a lightning bolt, and you just are suddenly transformed into a genius that produces genius work without actually having to work very hard at it at all. And that probably has happened. I mean, a lot stranger things have happened in the history of man, but it isn't common. And I wouldn't, if that's your idea of the way to become a great famous painter or whatever, I would bail on that, and I would just start working very hard every day, and that'd be your best shot. Not only your best shot at becoming well known as a painter, but your best shot at becoming somebody who has a unique and we dare we say it, original voice. Now, the originality is going to come out as you work and you work and you work, because what is in you that is unique is the wellspring of originality. Okay, very, very seldom do you come up with something original when you set out saying, well, I'm going to do something original. Yeah, all you're doing is playing chicken with your subconscious. You've forgotten. You've forgotten what your inspiration was. It's a bit of self-deception, actually, I think, and if we dig around, the rest of us, maybe we're not so fooled, you know. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you enjoyed this blast from the past. I do have, and sorry I didn't get that photography done. I've got a few stragglers that I had to just lay my brush on, and I didn't see any reason of getting the camera all set up without having those guys included. So I guarantee next weekend you'll have a brand new past masters painting to observe and enjoy and appreciate. And also I'll have a painting for you on Wednesday or Thursday or so of my own stuff. So meanwhile, till we see you then, take good care and stay out of trouble.